All right, if you are prepping for your AWS certification, you know Route 53 routing policies are pretty much guaranteed to show up on the exam. So today, we're going to master one of the trickiest ones, geolocation routing. And by the end of this, you'll not only get how it works, but you'll also know exactly how to spot the right answer when the pressure's on. So let's jump right in.
So here's our game plan. We're going to start with the basics, the what, then we'll dive into the how. After that, we'll look at some real-world examples to make it all click, compare it to other policies to help you avoid those common exam traps, and then we'll finish up with a cheat sheet of everything you absolutely need to remember. Let's do this. Okay, first things first. What is geolocation routing? Really? Let's strip away all the technical jargon and just get right to the core idea. At its heart, it's really just about giving different answers to different users based on where they are in the world. So someone in Tokyo gets sent to your servers in Japan, while a user over in Berlin gets routed to your German data center. It's really that simple. It's all about their physical location. And the control you get is, well, it's incredibly specific. You can set roles for whole continents, for individual countries, or you can even drill down to the state level inside the US. This is exactly how you can do things like show prices in the correct local currency, or, and this is critical, make sure you're following local data laws like GDPR. So that's the what. But how does AWS actually make this magic happen behind the scenes? Let's kind of follow a user's request from start to finish and see how it all works. It's pretty much a 5-step process. So a user makes a request, right? Route 53 then takes a look at the IP address of their DNS resolver to figure out where they are. Then it searches for the most specific rule you've created that matches that location. If it finds a match, boom, it sends back the right IP address. If it doesn't find a match, it falls back to a default record. And trust me, we're going to see in a bit why that default record is so incredibly important. This hierarchy right here, this is a classic exam question. You have to remember, the most specific rule always wins. So if you have one rule for California and another for the entire United States, a user in San Francisco is always going to trigger that California rule. State beats country. That's really the key to getting that fine-grained control. Okay, theory is great and all, but where does this stuff actually solve real problems? Let's check out a few common scenarios that you are very likely to see pop up on the exam. Just imagine you're running a global e-commerce site. With geolocation routing, you can automatically show prices in euros to your users in Europe, yen to users in Japan, and dollars for everyone in the US. It's all about creating this seamless, localized experience without the user having to lift a finger. Now this is a huge one for the exam. Regulations like GDPR over in Europe, they often require that user data has to be processed and stored on servers that are physically inside the EU. Geolocation routing is the tool you use to enforce that, making sure all traffic from European users is handled by your EU-based servers. And here's another key use case: digital rights. Think about a streaming service. They might only have the license to show a movie in certain countries. Well, geolocation routing is how they enforce that. It lets them serve the content to users in the licensed countries and maybe a "sorry, not available here" message to everyone else. Okay, now for the part that really trips a lot of people up on the exam, telling all these different routing policies apart. AWS is going to give you a scenario and ask you to pick the best policy. And getting this right is all about knowing that one key difference for each of them. Let's break this down nice and simple. Geolocation is all about the user's physical location for things like legal rules and compliance. Latency-based routing, it couldn't care less about your location. It only cares about which server is the absolute fastest for you. And geoproximity, that's all about the literal physical distance between your users and your servers, often used for balancing traffic. Just remember this: geolocation is for rules, latency is for speed. All right, we've covered all the concepts. Now let's boil this all down into the absolute must-know facts for your exam. Think of this as your final review. Okay, let's lock in these key takeaways. If you don't remember anything else, remember what's coming up next. These are the little details that are going to make all the difference on exam day. First, that default record is absolutely critical. Without it, some of your users will get no response at all. Dead end. Second, that hierarchy is king. The most specific match always wins. Third, keep an eye out for keywords in the exam questions. If you see words like compliance, restrict, or localize, your brain should immediately think geolocation. And finally, remember, you can combine this with health checks to make your whole system a lot more resilient. Let's lock this in with a classic scenario. If you see a question about GDPR or keeping data within a certain geographic border for legal reasons, what's the answer? It's geolocation routing. Every single time.
And that is the whole story on Route 53's geolocation routing. You should now have a really solid grasp of what it is, how it works, and most importantly, how to tackle it on your AWS exam. So now the real question is, as you start designing your own global applications, which routing policy will you choose to create the best possible experience for your users?